78% of suicide rates worldwide are men. What can we do to help them? Well, for one, we could advocate for men and the issues they deal with culturally and socio-economically. A lot of them tend to be forgotten about in social justice movements, or only very specific minorities are addressed. On a side note, the statistic of this post is somewhat skewed and doesn't give clarity to the cumbrance of suicide rates by gender. While men commit suicide successfully than women, this is largely due to the means of how their suicides are committed, which are ergo more effective at killing oneself. Women actually attempt suicide at a rate of 6x higher than men. They just choose typically far less effective options, like via painkillers. Challenge/redefine masculinity norms and expectations. If we stopped being cruel to each other and thought about how our words affected the men around us, that would be a nice start. Being more accepting of our differences and more celebratory of commonalities wouldn't just be good for men, but for all humans. Try to make women hate themselves more in order to even out the percentages. Don't be afraid to check in on them. You may never know how much they will appreciate it if you just simply ask them how they are doing, or if anything is going on that they'd want to talk about. I think this thread is very telling. You have seen dozens of stories and this and mass agreement that 1. Men are encouraged to open up, but get absolutely zero support when they do. 2. Men largely have little or no close friends or communities. 3. The number one group of people that judge men for crying and showing emotion are women, and hetero women specifically. 4. Since we have been compounded since childhood to bottle up, anytime we receive criticism for doing so, it is absolutely devastating and could take years to try it again, if ever again at all. 5. A majority of the homeless population are men, and many shelters are women and children only. 6. A majority of violent war veterans are men. 7. Men generally work longer hours and get fewer hours of sleep per night. The only way to help men is to enact massive, sweeping change to nearly every societal institution. Schools, communities, colleges, you name it. I do not see this happening at all, and it is very, very, very hard to see this improving in time to defray any of the effects on men. We are only seeing the beginning of the fallout. Make them less lonely. This is a really interesting question, and first I'd like to thank you, my mother and Danny DeVito, for this. I am one to put my input, and I think this is the purpose of this, so let's get started. First of all, how do I know you are not a simulation? Well, of course you are, cause we all are, and everything in this universe is a simulation of our universe in the bedroom of an alien boy who is currently preparing a noose, but that is irrelevant because that's alien and xenophobic, but not in the racist way, in the alien racist way, so yeah, none of our feelings matter, but let's live on to make the game pretty fun so we can save the alien boy feelings, except they are aliens, so let's all just tank their reviews so that they get wiped out, but we will get shut down. But at least 78% of men would like that, and that's a majority, so let's go for it. And hashtag X200B. Joe Bobby Bob out, drive unsafe folks. In grad school I had a small group of friends who would go drinking with me at a neighborhood pub full of workers from a rubber plant. We would get shit-faced once a week and jabber with the whole pub. It was glorious. I look back on that as a golden age in my life. We once ordered a bottle of absinthe from Czechoslovakia. It took 6 weeks to arrive. We brought it there and sat in the back lighting the sugar on fire over the spoon. The owner of the bar came back to the corner when he saw the flame. He took one look at the bottle, then one look at us, then smiled and walked away. We were lighting shit on fire to drink a bottle that we didn't even buy there, and he didn't care. We were regulars. That sense of community was awesome. Any data on the percentage of men versus women when it comes to attempted suicide? Curious if this number is just as lopsided. I only ask because I'm curious if men have a higher occurrence because there are more of them in peril, or because they tend to choose the more violent means when it comes to carrying out suicide, leaving little possibilities for someone to stop them or resuscitate them once it's been done. An uncle-in-law shot himself to death this week. The guy was screaming for help and threatening to do it for days. He was 48. What are the options? If I was dealing with heavy depression and just wanted to talk to someone, where do I go? I've sought independent counselors and they usually turn out to be nutcases themselves. Seems like this just adds to the overall feeling of hopelessness. There are too many people in this world. People are not treated as people but a number or statistic. Combine this with demonization of drug use and mental health in men and I think we get to where we are at today. I did learn in a high school psychology course that men are usually more successful in suicide because when we do it to get the job done. We don't think about the people who are going to find us, so we resort to more gruesome but effective methods. Knowing that they are allowed to have feelings and emotions. They don't have to be supermanly and never show they are scared, hurt, etc. Treat them tenderly. Provide free and readily accessible beans. Very simple, breaking the stigma around men who struggle with mental illness. We've made some progress over the years, but we still have a big chore ahead of us. I honestly think it starts at an early age by encouraging/teaching boys healthy ways of expressing their emotions and problems they may be happening. This includes letting them know it's okay to express your emotions, ask for help, cry, etc. I also think we need more aid for men in general. Where I am there is a homeless problem and recently I found out many homeless shelters are family only or for women. So if you're a single male you do not have limited access to help. The same goes with sexual assaults and spousal abuse. Additionally, I believe we need a similar movement as Me Too for men. Maybe this loops into what I stated above, with men knowing it's okay to share these experiences. I'm a female so I cannot speak from experience, but I was watching some doc on men and depression. A father lost custody of his child to his wife, who wasn't the best parent. There were no support groups for single fathers or fathers in those situations. He then went to Facebook and found one, and it was basically a club full of misogyny and men who turned their hatred of their ex-wife to hatred of all women. That's not helpful. I think we've let down our men. Just look at our uniform men with PTSD. The government won't even take care of their own employees. Guys, I believe majority keep it all in, and struggle alone. But girls are more open to discussing their internal struggles with friends. Get the pressure of the kettle. You don't have to married with children after a certain age. It is okay to be single. You don't have to take of woman. You may be house dad as well. It is okay not to make so much money. With little you be fine too, and it does not make the dick smaller. Stop acting like men can't have any emotion-related problems and stop telling them that men don't cry or to man it up. By doing it even very rarely to a young child, they'll be enormously affected and will grow to be a boy that can't share his emotions and is afraid of showing them. They probably won't be able to cry or relieve stress in any way too, leading to a great emotional pressure, which can explode in a suicide or in various types of violence aimed at both others and or self. Talking from personal experience. You really can't change anything immediately. More women are classified as depressed, think more about suicide, and are the majority of suicide survivors. Men just tend to more successful in their suicide, thus the high percentage. We men don't seek help, which leads to silent suffering till it builds up to suicide. That's partly on us but mostly on the fact that we're raised to not ask for help or deal with any of our emotions. Instead we suppress them. Raise the boys of today to be different than us so they don't have to be a part of the same statistic. Doesn't help that our society makes men feel that sharing their feelings means being weak. And that crying is a sign of weakness. Well, I plan on killing myself when I'm old and I can't maintain a good quality of life. I think life is just too shitty and stressful. Women have more frequent attempts, men use deadlier methods. So it's not necessarily a sign of increased mental distress in men. Personally, if I ever decide to get it done with, I'll use a gun. Don't want to be put on a kidney transplant list for a suicide attempt. I deserve it less than an alcoholic at that point. A lot of boys especially feel that they can't open up about their depressed thoughts, or they'll be treated by their peers or guardians as if they are weak or not good enough, which causes, I assume, much build-up which could lead to suicide. So I think we need to work hard to create a better society, and more accepting one at that.
With